Last month, a farmer from Iowa posted a 2-minute video online. He was standing in the middle of his field, a massive John Deere combine worth $450,000 behind him, holding a sensor the size of his fist. The sensor cost $45. He'd just bought it, already installed it, everything was physically fine, but the combine won't start. The system requires an authorized John Deere dealer to come out and confirm the new part installation through their software. The dealer will arrive in 5 days. This farmer's harvest window is 3 days. Then rain. I'm going to tell you how this even became possible. How a company that sells you a machine for $500,000 legally justified its right to control that machine after the sale. What price farmers across America and beyond are paying for it. Why an entire generation of farmers has started buying 60-year-old tractors as a deliberate alternative. And at the very end, something that directly affects you, even if you've never been near a tractor in your life. Because what John Deere did to farmers is already creeping into your everyday life, and you probably haven't even noticed. More on that at the end. Don't go anywhere. To understand how we got here, you need to go back. Not that far, just about 30 years. In the 90s, a John Deere tractor was exactly what it looked like on the outside. A powerful iron machine with straightforward mechanics that any rural mechanic could tear down and reassemble in his own barn. Farmers fixed them themselves. Local shops kept parts on the shelf. Nobody asked the manufacturer's permission to replace an injector or adjust the valves. If a tractor broke down in the middle of the season, you called your neighbor showed up in an hour with a wrench set, and by lunch the machine was running again. It was so natural that it never crossed anyone's mind that one day all of that could become impossible. Then came electronics. And with them, everything changed. Today, a modern John Deere tractor is literally a computer on wheels. It has dozens of electronic control units monitoring every parameter: fuel injection, engine RPM, transmission operation, tire pressure, navigation, autopilot. That sounds impressive, and in practice, these systems genuinely boost efficiency. Less fuel consumption, more precise field coverage, fewer operator errors. Over the last 20 years alone, fuel consumption per unit of work on John Deere tractors dropped nearly 30%, specifically because of electronic engine management. That's real money for a farmer, real value. But these systems have a flip side that John Deere prefers not to talk about loudly. When something goes wrong, the electronic control unit generates an error code. In the past, those codes were read with a standard scanner, the same kind any auto shop uses, costing a couple $100, sold at any auto parts store. But John Deere encrypted its codes and tied their readout and reset to a single program: John Deere Service Advisor. That program exists only at authorized dealers, not at your shop. Not at your local mechanic who's fixed everything for 30 years, only at people who pay John Deere for an official partnership and operate strictly on the company's terms. In practice, this means the following. You see a warning light on the dash but can't find out what's wrong? The codes are locked from you. You can buy a new part and install it with your own hands, but the system won't accept it until a dealer activates the replacement through their software. You can find and physically fix the root cause of the failure, but the computer still won't allow a start until an authorized technician personally clears the error codes. The software has become the key to your own machine, and that key belongs to one group of people, and those people charge whatever they see fit. But the real scandal didn't come from the technology. It came from a single document. In 2015, John Deere filed an official letter with the U.S. Copyright Office. In it, the company wrote in so many words, "Farmers do not own the tractors they purchased. They merely receive an implied license to operate the vehicle." Think about that. You paid $500,000. You got the keys. You drive this machine every single day. You're responsible for it. You pay the taxes, the insurance, but you're not the owner. Because inside the machine, there's a software code that doesn't belong to you. It's roughly like buying a house and having the construction company tell you the walls are yours, but the electrical wiring is ours, and only our licensed electricians can touch it. By this logic, when you buy a book, you own the paper, but not the words printed on it. It sounds absurd, But this is exactly the legal foundation on which the entire restricted repair system stands. The American farming community exploded. Farm associations started organizing, journalists dug into the story, complaints flew to Congress, and that's when the numbers came out. Numbers that turn this from a legal abstraction into very real money out of very real people's pockets. An authorized dealer charges 2, sometimes 3, times more for the same work than an independent mechanic. That's not an opinion. That's data from an American Farm Bureau Federation study that surveyed hundreds of farmers in 2021. The average wait for a dealer technician to show up during peak harvest season, 3 to 7 days. For a farmer who has 3 days before the rain comes, that's not an inconvenience. It's a catastrophe. That's an entire year's income rotting in the field while you wait for someone with the right software on their laptop. That farmer from Nebraska, Kevin Kinney, later gave an interview and told the end of his story. The technician arrived 5 days later, ran a diagnostic, clicked a few buttons in the software, cleared the error code, the tractor started. Final bill, over $1,000, $800 of which was travel and diagnostic, for a $45 sensor that was already installed, $1,000 for permission. He finished harvest that year with significant losses. Stories like that exist by the thousands across America. But Kenny got off relatively lucky. He lost money, but not everything. A Kansas farmer named Ron Harris told a different story in 2019. His tractor broke down in the middle of planting season. The dealer couldn't come for a week, and he missed the optimal planting window for 500 acres of corn. The yield shortfall cost him roughly $70,000. $70,000 because of a software lock on a machine he'd bought and already repaired physically. At some point, farmers started to understand this was not an accident or a technical oversight. This was policy. Eastern European programmers, primarily from Ukraine and Poland, created unofficial versions of John Deere Service Advisor that spread across the internet. In 2017, Vice magazine published a piece headlined, "Farmers are hacking their John Deere tractors' firmware." And within days, it became one of the most read agriculture stories in years, because thousands of people recognized their own situation in it. Technically, this is a copyright and license violation, but a farmer whose harvest is rotting in the rain isn't thinking about licensing agreements. He's thinking about the fact that he's been feeding his family and his workers from this field for the last 20 years. It's interesting that Eastern Europe wound up at the forefront of this underground market. Polish and Ukrainian mechanics grew up working on Soviet and European equipment, which was always more open in terms of repairability, and simply could not accept the logic of a physically functional machine refusing to run because of a software prohibition. To them, this looked not like breaking the law, but like restoring common sense. And when their tools showed up on American farming forums, they spread instantly. It would be dishonest not to give the company a voice. John Deere has real arguments, and they're worth hearing. Incorrect reprogramming of electronic control units can genuinely create dangerous situations. A modern tractor is an extremely complex system where engine management algorithms affect operational safety. John Deere tractors meet strict emission standards, Tier 4 in the US and Stage 5 in Europe, and unauthorized software modifications can disable exhaust filtration systems, which constitutes a real violation of environmental law. And software is the result of hundreds of millions of dollars in development investment, which the company has every right to protect. All of that is true. The problem is that behind these arguments sits a different reality, one that's very clearly visible in the financial reports. The after-sales service and parts division generates margins for Deere and Company that are significantly higher than the margins on selling tractors themselves. According to the company's annual reports, in some quarters, the operating margin of the service segment exceeds 40%, a level comparable to software companies, not hardware manufacturers. Selling a machine once is good. Servicing it exclusively for 20 to 30 years with no competition whatsoever at your own prices is incomparably better. Safety and environmental compliance are convenient justifications in this context, not the actual reason. There's one more thing here that almost no one talks about. A John Deere tractor is collecting data on you. GPS tracks of all your fields, yield data, information about how you work your land, when you start planting, how much fuel you use, when you last service the machine. All of it goes to the company's servers. John Deere's user agreements state that they collect this data to improve service, but this data is priceless information about your operation, information you never gave permission to sell or use for commercial purposes. When American farmers discovered this, the outrage only got louder. So not only can a farmer not repair his own machine, he's also providing a corporation with detailed data about his entire business for free. Under pressure from the public and from lawmakers, the story started moving, slowly but moving. In 2023, Colorado became the first state in the U.S. to pass a right-to-repair law for agricultural equipment, requiring manufacturers to provide access to diagnostic tools and documentation on fair terms. That same year, John Deere itself signed a memorandum with the American Farm Bureau Federation, promising to expand self-repair capabilities by 2027. Critics call this document a nice gesture with no legal force, a promise no one is required to keep and that the company can reframe however it pleases at any moment. The European Union in 2023 to 2024 passed a series of directives under a right-to-repair framework, partially covering agricultural equipment. But the distance between passing a law and actually changing what happens out in the field is enormous. In Russia, this story took a completely unexpected turn. After 2022, official John Deere shipments stopped. Authorized dealers left the market or operate in a severely restricted capacity. Thousands of farmers were left holding expensive equipment. With no official service at all, parts came through parallel imports via Turkey, Kazakhstan, and other countries. Diagnostics through unofficial software. Maintenance through independent mechanics with unlicensed tools. And you know what? The tractors work, the combines harvest, the fields get worked. A company that built its entire system on a dealer network monopoly discovered that in the absence of that network, its machines keep running just fine, just without the company's involvement and without its money. The irony of this situation is hard to overstate. It was precisely the rigid, closed software policy that grew an entire alternative ecosystem, which now lives its own life. It's against this backdrop that something unexpected is gaining momentum in America. Farmers are increasingly going back to old equipment, and above all to John Deere tractors from the 60s and 70s. It sounds paradoxical. People with multi-million-dollar operations, with brand new combines in their barns, going to auctions and buying machines that are 60 years old, not for a museum, not for a parade, to work. At an auction in Kansas, a 1969 John Deere 4020 sold last year for $28,000. Next to it stood a 3-year-old modern tractor with air conditioning, GPS, and autopilot at roughly the same price. The room chose the 60-year-old machine, and the man who bought it is not a collector in a cowboy hat. He's a regular farmer from Nebraska who planned to run it next season. The reason is simple to the point of absurdity. The John Deere 4020 has no computers, no software, no sensors that lock the startup sequence, no server your data flows to, no closed protocols, no licensing agreements, no authorized dealers you have to call and wait 5 days for. Just metal, gears, hydraulics, and mechanics that any mechanic with a wrench set and a manual from the internet can understand. It breaks, you grab a wrench and fix it. Yourself. Today. Free or nearly free. This isn't nostalgia. This is a rational economic decision in a world where new equipment has become a trap. And now, the part that makes it worth watching this far. The principle John Deere applied to tractors, you bought the device but you can't repair it without our permission, wasn't born in agriculture. It came from where each of us starts our day, our pocket. Apple for years used software locks that made third-party parts invisible to the iPhone. The phone would simply refuse to function properly with a screen or battery from another manufacturer, even when technically identical. Printers won't print with off-brand cartridges, not because they're inferior, but because they lack the licensed chip. Nespresso and Keurig machines reject third-party pods. New washing machines and refrigerators with Wi-Fi modules require branded service and branded parts, or the warranty is voided. This isn't coincidence, and it isn't different companies accidentally converging on the same solution. This is a deliberate business model, which in academic literature already has a name: consumer capture through post-sale dependency. The logic is simple. Sell you a device once, then own you as a customer for the entire lifespan of that device. Farmers with John Deere tractors were simply the first to run into this in its harshest form, because they have the most expensive equipment, the longest service lifespans, and the most catastrophic consequences when a machine goes down at the wrong moment. But the direction of travel is the same for everyone. There's a question that rarely gets asked out loud, but it grows more relevant every year. In a world where everything has a computer inside it, who actually owns your stuff? Not on paper, not by the receipt, but for real. Who decides whether it works tomorrow morning? While lawmakers debate this, manufacturers keep embedding ever more sophisticated control mechanisms into new devices. And every time we silently accept the next licensing agreement without reading it, we hand over one more small piece of that control, quietly, one checkbox at a time. The farmer from Nebraska lost his harvest because of an error code in a machine he bought for $500,000 and already repaired with his own hands. The farmer from Kansas lost $70,000 waiting for a man with the right laptop. Thousands of farmers across America overpay by hundreds of millions of dollars every season for a monopoly they didn't choose and can't legally work around. What you'll lose, and when, is only a matter of how far this model goes. And it's already moving, faster every year.